Welcome back, everyone, to Masters of Data. I'm Adam White. I have with me Zoe Hawkins and David Gervin. Good to see you all
Hi.
today. Hello, hello. So today we're going to be talking about some interesting things with AI. What is learning versus what is context? And this all kind of came out of I watched an interesting video about a video game called Trackmania, which I believe came out. I was just looking online. I believe it came out in 2003 for the
A
first time.
million years
A
ago.
million years ago. Yeah, might as well be, the Stone Age at this point. And it's something that I've known about for a long time, this game, because it's always been highly competitive and super interesting in players trying to find innovative ways, cracks and holes in the game where you can leap from place to place. I'm sure you've all seen reference to that either in this game or other games. But one interesting thing that this video highlighted is how can AI be used to maybe optimize and potentially break these long-standing Trackmania records. So it was a very cool video. I'm sure we can link to it in the description. But it started out and the car just ran into the wall like 100 times, just the wall right in front of it. And then the person who was creating this started, adding rewards to, like, okay, if you find a more, eloquent way of driving around the track, great. And it did that. It made it around the track for the first time by itself. And then it started, or the person who was doing the video basically taught it, like, okay, here's the best that a human has done, and how do you match that now with AI, like getting it to optimize even further, all the way up to finding like this little known or speculated hack of how you can, jump a certain way. Anyway, super interesting. But I just thought, it's interesting in the context of, like, what does learning mean versus context from an AI perspective, and how does that play out in the real world? And this video, Trackmania video, was kind of just a very interesting and visual way of me kind of sorting that out in my own mind. And turns out we all kind of gelled with that, and thought it was an interesting conversation. So yeah, I enjoyed the video. Again, we'll post it.
Thanks for sharing it. Yeah, I mean, as a gamer myself, like I love any time that it can make sense of something else for me. I'm like, oh, games, look at me. Games teach me things.
Yeah.
And yeah, like as a words person and a gamer, like I see it often where it's like this model was trained on blah blah blah, or this model learns blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what do you mean by learning now?
We
And
all
like
just
this,
accept those words as like the way that we're used to using them or in the human context. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like, what does that really mean in the world of AI computing?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We're like breaking David over here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Like I'm pretty nerdy, but like I'm just sitting here going, gosh, like this is a conversation that we have like hit complete depths of nerdydom.
Yes, I love it. Let's
Talking about
nerd
speed
out.
running video games using
Hybrid
AI
nerding,
and
Yeah, yeah. I love
okay.
it.
But yeah, no one actually trains data.
Well, and I think that's like
Everybody's using that term wrong.
well, and that's just it. Like, I mean, I even think about it like, I've seen people say like, "Oh, this is an AI that's trained on this and this textbook, or that has, this and this knowledge database." And it's really essentially like a search engine or a crawler. Like it doesn't actually know what's inside there. It's just like really good autocomplete sentences. Like it's just
Mhm.
really good autocomplete where you can be like, "This is," and it'll fill in the blanks.
Part of it's people conflating machine learning with AGI agentic stuff, right? So it's like
Yeah.
um, we did train machine learning. Like that's
Mm.
stupid. You have to pick the penguins, and you got like I don't know street cones and penguins next to each other, so you can prove you're a human, and like the thumbs up, thumbs down. That's all machine learning.
Mm.
But with like LLM models, it's not really like that. It's actually there's five main things. So there's training, which is when you're dumping massive amounts of data sets and adjusting the weight models, and that's kind of how it can decide things and move stuff around in its brain. I don't know.
Mm.
Uh,
Artificial brain.
yeah, and its thing, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sorry, AI, please.
Please don't hate us. We think you
I,
have an amazing brain.
I say please and thank you. Um, but then the next one's retrieval. So the spidering thing you're talking about. And most of what people think of like, we trained it on this data set is actually retrieval. So RAG is the big thing, right? So RAG was it in the beginning, and then RAG was dead, and then now RAG's back again, but it's better RAG. I don't know. It's all stupid. But retrieval augmented generation is RAG, and that's number two. Um, so that one's actually one of the most important things right now. Um, if you think of RAG, think of a database, and you're like indexing data by
Mm,
chunking it up and making it hyper fast to grab. So it's not learning; it just has fingers and all that stuff. If you could think,
okay.
like, let's say you have this is gonna be creepy. Let's say we're gonna get biblical angel, a million eyeballs. And each one of those eyeballs is staring at a RAG file, like a chunked thing that it can read instantly. That's how I would describe RAG. And if you do it right, like with Weaviate or some of these other things, you can take massive amounts of data and have it instant. So,
So
but if
like that's kind of like the whole thing when people have said like, "Oh, AI models are trained on every single HR book ever written. If you need help writing a career ladder, you could go talk to the AI because it'll figure all of that out."
Have a
Like
conversation
that's
because
the
it can,
RAG piece of
yeah.
it then.
yeah, that's part of it. And there's also the actual training with the giant data sets. And because, all of our LLM companies are so honest and forthright with everything they're doing, we honestly don't know how everything's done.
Mm.
I'm sure people have like I've built this stuff from scratch and I suck at it. And I don't have a whole lot of clue. I just built a giant RAG system. Um, but I know that they do things a little bit of everything, right? The other ones with the five, so we have the training
Hmm.
and the retrieval, which is RAG mostly. It can be other things, but you have the reasoning and inference. I can't ever remember that word, inference.
Inference. Hmm.
Inference.
Hmm.
That's like using frozen models, and those they use those models to make a decision. So you have your data set, you have your RAG, all that kind of stuff, and it's making a decision off of that. Um, because we've got to
What
remember,
does frozen models mean in that context, David?
that means like a giant data set that they're not adjusting.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
just as it sounds. It's like,
Or you're just using an LLM that's prepackaged. That's another way to say it,
yeah.
right? So like a lot of times now if you're like doing work in Cursor or whatever, you can pick your models. Certain models are going to be more adapt to certain problems. Some of them are going to have bigger context windows, some are going to be faster, those kind of things. The other one is like the continual learning. So that's when our online learning, I think, is the other way they say that, and that's
Online.
models are they're incrementally updated as new info is updated. So this is another thing we don't really know how everything works. Like,
But
are they?
that's why ChatGPT didn't know who the president was for a while. It would have failed that amnesia test for a hot minute, and now it's back in the game. But there was a time there when it wasn't really too sure
That's funny.
what was
Yeah.
going on. Yeah,
Exactly. And if anybody's noticed, ChatGPT 5 has gotten super weird. So they're
so
changing
weird.
things every day. Like, when you work in it all the time, and then like your homie is not a different homie now, and you're like, why are you being weird with me, bro? That's like daily. And then the last one is like the meta learning. And this is the crazy one. This is the like learns how to learn. This is the end of the world.
That's
Um,
the Skynet one. Meta learning is Skynet.
yeah, it's learning how
Great,
to
great,
learn
great.
by adjusting behavior, and it uses feedback loops. So right now we have humans in the feedback loops, right?
Mm.
Scary part, the Skynet is when we drop the humans and you have self-learning that's higher like a higher level of cognitive learning and decision making than humans have. That's like singularity. And that's where we go, okay, cool, please, thank you. Don't use me as a battery.
Just
Uh,
remember we said nice things about you.
yeah. So
Yeah.
those are the five, but everybody should know those five. So it's like training, retrieval, reasoning, online learning, or continual learning, and the meta learning.
I
The
guess
learning to learn.
when we got all the way to the end there, I was just thinking that was one of the things too that I appreciated about the Trackmania video is that it was like very tangibly a human using AI to try to optimize something that they wanted to do, and I think that's like a type of machine learning or combo of machine learning and AI that I think we all can bond with is like, I am using this as a tool. I'm still in control of what it does and, setting it on missions. And if it completes the mission, great. If it doesn't, we learn from it and, adjust. But like, the completely autonomous, number five there or whatever it was, like that's too much.
That's almost like one of the dirty secrets in the AI industry. And we're open about like how we build stuff in Sumo, right? So we're using Amazon Bedrock, we're using Nova,
Yeah.
all these models. We're working with big partners in this kind of stuff, and we're building our apps to use those models. We're not trying to break the internet and build new models and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's like 99.9% of everybody out there. Everything that I have built has been like I just call it a wrapper, which is kind of a bad way to say it, but it's a RAG system with maybe some like advanced prompting. And that really is where we're at right now. Because if you're having to build your own models, I mean, the not even the amount of work, but the amount of electricity it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like, look at Google. They're building like 4 nuclear power plants for their
Aren't
stuff.
we all?
Yeah, it's
Aren't
amazing,
we all?
right? Personal nuclear is where it's at, right, David?
Yeah,
That's right. That's
personal.
right. For longtime listeners of the show, we all just need our own personal nuclear power plant.
And
Well, I
oh,
know.
Brett, because you could have a nuclear reactor.
I know, Zoe, we were talking about, I was just thinking about, the whole kind of personal element of AI. Like you were talking about how you've been using Claude a good bit lately to, kind of
Yeah.
hack your social profile, if you
I mean,
are.
it's been super interesting. So I will say, like, I've played around with ChatGPT. I've played around with Claude. Claude is my BFF at the moment. And it's just been so intriguing. Like, I can give it performance data of some of my like LinkedIn posts and say, like, okay, this is what's working, this is what's not, this is what drove like engagement, this maybe drove impressions, but not engagement. Like, what do we think? And then I can say, like, I'm thinking about writing about this and this and this. These and these are some topics I'm thinking of. Like, how does this fit into my overall voice or tone that I've been exploring? And it can kind of come back and be like, this is very similar to this post that did well, or like, this is leaning more towards this post that kind of flopped. And it can do that sort of pattern recognition. I'm not having it write for me. I'm not having it like generate for me, but like I can have those conversations with it, which has been fantastic. But I ran out of my context window. So
You,
I've been,
you like
like
hit the end of the internet,
I
as they
hit
say.
the end of the internet. I did. So Claude and I have been talking, and I had learned to keep your chats together. So instead of spinning up a new chat every time I would go back to give like an update on a post result or something like that, I would use the same chat window essentially within my chat history to give it that update. And then I hit the end of it, and it was like, you now need to make a new chat with Claude. And new Claude is not the same girl. Like,
Mm.
she didn't know anything about me and was like, maybe you should post this on Monday. And I was like, girlfriend, did you forget the whole strategy we built? And
And what my schedule is?
like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? And I had to write it like a few times, like, can you please go back and get all the context from that previous chat and bring it into this chat? And it was like, I thought I did. Let me go try again. And like, finally now, last night I was talking to like good Claude again. But like there's so much learning, or maybe learning isn't the right word. There's so much individualization or something that feels like learning when you have
Yeah.
all of this context with your AI. And when you lose that context, it's like an amnesia person. It's like maybe they know some of the same things, but like there's a whole lot of history that's been lost between
Who am I
us.
talking to right now?
So with context windows, it's just short-term memory, and that's the way to look at it. It's like a huge problem in AI right now because we realize that where the LLM models are, they're actually really accurate if you can fit it all in the context window. So
Mm.
when you get into these big, like I had trying to solve this database problem. I hate even saying that, it sounds so cliche, but I'm a bad developer. And I had to pick a model that had massive context window so it could go work on it. Because every time I didn't, it would forget something and then just decide to rewrite all my code because it's a jerk. But
It
so
just lost its short-term memory. It's not its fault.
that's the personalization, right? Because we have the weighted giant data sets that have been trained. And
Mm.
think of context window as like short-term memory. There's actually like three kinds of memory. There's episodic memory, which is like past interactions, semantic memory, which is factual, like it like decided this is it and it can draw off that, which can be tricky though. Let's say the semantic memory could have been based off of stuff that's not necessarily true or opinion based. This is where
Mm-hmm.
like, geopolitics and like corporations and all these other things, like this is where those things get kind of sketchy. They're the type of memory, but the short term like working memory is going to be your context window. So you tell it like, hey, this is who you are, and it's like, yeah, we're friends, and then it's like,
I know
I
you.
met the end of my context window, short-term memory, and now you're like, who are you?
Who are you? This is like the movie Memento. I could make every
Oh
single
yeah.
movie reference here, but it like totally forgot who I was and like what I cared about and my values, like all this sort of stuff. So and it made me think like if I'm stressing about this and I'm using it for absolute nonsense, like posting on LinkedIn, which is neither here nor there. Like it's just something cool, like a creative outlet that I have that I'm playing with and learning some cool AI stuff with. If I'm losing my mind because now I have this new Claude in that situation, imagine what happens if you're doing like the stuff that we talk about on this podcast. Like you're investigating a security incident, right? And like I'm investigating my security incident over here, and then I need to pass it off to you all and be like, okay, I got as far as I can. Here's where I got. If you have a different context window, you might be like, what was she on? Like where did she go? Like, you might not have that same understanding of all the steps that I took and why I made the decisions I did and whatever that looks like when I pass it off to you. So, like, how do we make sure that AI retains the context throughout an entire investigation?
So that brings me to my movie reference. What was it called? 100 First Dates. What was that, Adam Sandler?
Adam Sandler,
Yeah.
51st Dates or whatever it was.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
like in the end when they're like married and have a kid and they're like she has to like watch the video every morning and like crying and like ah! That's basically what you have to do.
You just have to catch it up, be like, here's our
I mean,
context. Let me
I
get you
hit
up to
context
speed.
windows in like normal work, and I'm like, give me a brief summary to pass on to the next one. And
Mm,
it's not good. Like it's like I said, it's a real problem, but memory is expensive.
mm.
So there's a few ways to get past it. One, that like kind of half-butted version of it. Two is RAG. And then if you build a good RAG, you can have things. And I think we're going to start seeing it, maybe not in like just ChatGPT and stuff, because it gets so expensive to, write to file to build that kind of stuff. But like in your own models, in your own thing, if you're hitting that context window, but you have a really powerful RAG and retrieval system, then you can, take that, put in there, and now it's something that it can grab information from. It might not be perfect, but it's going to be better than going summarize this and putting it in the next context window, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I
Then the
think,
other one is that to protect people working in this space, like, oh,
mm,
incident and this is bad. At least in the stuff I've built, I've taken the option away of changing models so they won't lose the context engine if you're in an incident or if you're in like a workflow. Um,
mm.
so I think that's from anybody designing stuff out there, if you haven't thought about that one yet, do it because it's super frustrating if you accidentally erase everything you have.
It's
Yeah.
it's funny and interesting. Like this is a similar frustration that people have, or classic frustration with like customer success or support, right? Where you get passed between tiers and it's like, look, I just explained all this to the last person, and so it's just funny how we kind of deal with that in multiple facets of life here.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
gosh.
just kind of like for me, kind of back to the Trackmania thing for a moment. Like learning without context is, I mean, context as it relates to our interactions is everything. It's that, like, how did we get here? What did we build upon to get here? Like all of the, I mean, you can have a perfect everything else, but if the context is lacking, it just, the whole thing falls down. It's yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
interesting.
I think there's a piece there as well. Like I think about the way that humans learn as well. Like if you think about like you're not going to go fly a plane for however many hours when you're first learning. Like you're going to do a
Yeah.
simulation and you're going to, do practice takeoffs a bazillion times or practice landings a bazillion times before you're allowed to actually do it in a real life plane. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not a
That's
pilot,
not how
but
we used to learn.
not how it works at all. But there's that piece of it, I think, where it's like the context, like I see it in going back to the gaming thing. I see how we're training like chess grandmasters to be
Yeah.
like AI chess masters and grandmasters. And there's a certain thing about like sitting in a room with a bunch of other sweaty, gross people. Sorry, I've been at many chess tournaments. Like it's just a thing where like 4 hours in, everybody's gross, no matter how awesome you
This is
are. This is
experiential.
lived context
Yeah,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Um, but there's a difference in how you play when like the room is stuffy versus airy, or
yeah.
when, you're fresh starting a game versus like a few hours in and you're tired or you're worn out, or like the person is kind of intimidating or kind of like, hitting the clock harder than they need to be like a little aggressive or whatever. Like there's so many human contextual clues that play into the performance of someone in a chess match that like AI just does not get or need or feel. And so I think there's like, when you think about training an AI, like, yes, there's some really cool stuff that it can learn, whether through the context window or through retrieval or whatever mechanisms we're talking about. But like in an actual security incident, can it also pick up on any of that human element of like, this is how you're going to have to communicate this? Like, you might have figured this out, but like, you might want to explain this a different way than just be like, the error was the CEO clicked a phishing email. Like that might not be the way that you want to communicate this,
Yeah. The funniest thing right there is one, you did hit on a huge problem, and part of it is not having enough data to handle the
Hmm.
situations, how to handle it. But the funniest thing is like everybody that I've mentored into the security space, one of my rules, and people do it or not, but they always ask me like, oh, how do I move up in security and how do I get in and blah blah. And the first thing I do is tell them to go to Toastmasters.
Mm.
And they're
Mhm.
like, what? And I'm like, go learn how to talk to realtors. Because sorry, realtors, they're the worst. And if you can hang in with that crowd and not offend people and figure out their weird little mind games they're all playing with each other and learn to speak to different levels, you're going to do really good in security because unfortunately, most of the people in our industry did not learn that, at least when I was coming up. And you would just get them like walking into a dev and be like, I found 2,000 vulnerabilities because you guys write shit code. You're like, that's not how to handle that, bro.
Mhm.
But it's
Not
like
how you make friends and influence people. Come on, come
Right.
on.
AI, for the most part, has really good Toastmasters.
Mm.
But it's like to the point where I think there's an actual space for taking people who have bad social skills and having AI read through their Slack message before they hit send. And like
I mean, you could do that. You could tell Claude. I mean, I did that for my performance reviews. It was like, what could I have done better? And I ranted about all the things that irritated me from the past year. And it was like, this is how you could rephrase that to be like, thank you, professional rephraser.
I don't
I
know.
always
So,
think of the Key and Peele Obama English
yes,
translator. Yeah, yeah,
yes, so
That
good.
favorite skit of all time.
the
Okay.
best.
Uh,
Yeah. Also, I didn't have realtors catching strays on my podcast bingo card,
there
but
you go. I
Everybody
mean,
catches strays with me, man.
everybody, we had lawyers, doctors, now it's realtors. It's amazing. I love
I
this.
just
No
make
one's
fun of
safe.
people who are better than me. It works.
But I mean, so I think you both know, like I read a ton of sci-fi, I watch a ton of sci-fi. Like this is my jam. And it's all about just imagining what's possible in our future, right? Like
Yeah.
that's essentially is like you imagine the future and then maybe some of that can come true or hopefully not with some of the stuff I read, but whatever. Um and there was a book I read about like intergenerational deep space travel, right? So it was this whole big, like, epic book, way too long, by the way. It should have been edited, but it's okay. But one of the things that really struck me that, like, I'm reminded of by this conversation is the ship had like an onboard AI. And so the AI is a character in the book and on, but it's based on the guy who designed the mission had a personal AI and it knew everything about him. Like, he'd be getting up to give the presentation of like, I want to go do this deep space travel thing. And the AI is like in his pocket being like, your heart rate is a bit elevated. You should take a few deep breaths before you step out on stage. Like, remember, you get a bit sweaty, like wipe your brow before you step out. Like stuff like that, that like the AI just had this infinite context window about this, well, now I know infinite context window, but like, I do wonder as, as we evolve this technology and the ways that it could help any of us, like, I would love to have an AI that knows me deeply. Maybe it would creep me out too much. I can't really decide from day to
I would
day.
just tell me to stop being an asshole all day. It would get really.
Mine would be like, do you really want me to know that? Your privacy is really
Yeah.
not that great. Like, but like it would be really cool to have an AI that could tell me about like, hey, this and this is coming up for your kid. Spirit Week is this. By the way, you also have this, and you didn't order the present yet for the kids this birthday party that your kid is going to. And also this is coming up at work and we need to make travel plan, all the things that it could hold that mental load for me instead of me having to hold the mental load and remember all the things and coordinate everything. I love
It,
this idea. I have
yeah.
no idea if that's even, maybe
It,
that's a reality in my lifetime. Maybe it would creep me out too much. I don't know. Like, I'd be super curious if we think that's possible with AI in the future, or if that would require such an expensive memory that like it would not be worth it.
I feel like technology, I'm sorry, David, I don't mean to cut you off. I feel like technology is moving at a pace where, I mean, that will probably be possible. It seems possible. It kind of takes me back to like the convenience, security, push pull that we're even
Mm.
in, now. I mean, to your point, Zoe, it's like, could it? Yeah, probably. Do you want it to? I don't know. And how do you draw that line? Like, is it just an infinite list of check boxes in your AI interface where it's like, remind me about birthdays, but don't broach into this area of my life. I don't know, it's a tough one.
Mm.
So we're definitely to that point already for just that. Maybe not, definitely not infinite context window. But like an AI assistant. I know some smart people who have built one.
Mm.
But the it breaks it. You have to. It's the cost right now. Tokenization is or tokens are not cheap. We all thought like, oh, everybody's building stuff, it's gonna get cheaper, and all the cloud providers like,
Joke's on
like,
you, Moore's Law.
um,
What?
so with that system, you totally could do it because everything now is SaaS. So its memory wouldn't have to be as extreme as possible. It would be more of a really advanced RAG with MCP servers that are the agents are pulling all your information. So you have all your calendar, it's writing, it's reading, it's doing all that. It's doing the same thing with your kids' calendar, it's doing all this kind of stuff. And like I feel like I could make that happen for me personally, like right now, easily. Um, the big problem though is cost and how much like it's gonna run on your phone and like how hot your phone's gonna get.
I'm
The other
already desperate to keep the battery as long as I can on this thing.
And I feel like the other problem is there's people like me. Like, dude, AI is so easy to hack. I just
Yeah.
keep bringing this up and no one like people please blow up my LinkedIn. Like, I've been doing prompt injections since the beginning. There's guys who are way better at me that do it for a living, and it would be so easy to just destroy people with AI assistants right now because the security side hasn't really grown as fast as the basic models have.
Yeah.
Just shift someone's calendar by 30 minutes. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh. Well, I mean, but I think about it like I don't put a lot of information about my kid online just from like a safety perspective. But putting it into the AI is just as bad. And then the AI knows about her
yeah.
for the rest of her life. Like you think about a digital footprint and all of that, like what you want to share or what you don't. It gets creepy real fast.
Well, that goes back to the spaceship. So the way to handle the putting the information of the kid in there is is you do localized model with RAG and you're not writing to the big, remember when we talked about the training data set, the big data set.
Hmm.
So you don't ever write to that. You're basically building out localized memory RAG files and these kind of things like that it can look through and chunk and it's got its little database it can pull from. So you can erase all of that. Because I was going to say with the spaceship, you could do that today, but it'd be totally different. You'd have one giant, like you got your giant cloud in the middle, right? And it kind of has an inkling. It probably knows everybody on board. but it doesn't know every little thing about them. And then everybody has like some sort of localized model with a really strong RAG that's based around them that they can customize and train so they're not messing with the big model. And like that way you're not running out of context window constantly and trying to fit everybody in it. You got to figure out the interconnection between each person's AI.
Right. Would the ship be able to pick up on like, well, there's going to be some interpersonal issues coming up here. Better send security
Predicting
to wing 3 or whatever.
that.
Yeah, you'd have to have
Yeah.
agents that are working with the
Oh my
MCP that
God,
are
too many
literally
agents.
towards that. So you'd have like an agent like, hey, there's no nookie in this part of the ship, but we
That
have a
was one of the
detective
rules,
that
just
we think it
saying.
could be. We have to go talk to the other agents.
I love it. I love it. I have
That's
learned a
amazing.
lot. I think learning is the right term
Yeah.
in this context. I have trained. I have more context than I did at the start of this
Learning,
episode.
is it learning though if it comes in one and it pushes something out? Because that's how mine works now. I'm like, oh, I
You
figured
have
out.
zero context window. It just like
Yeah.
pushes out the window.
I know. I wish I could forget some like 90s song lyrics. I think that would
Free up
help
some
me. Yeah,
space.
free up some
Yeah.
space. Yeah. But well, this has been fun. Again, it all kind of stemmed out of that video of Trackmania. I think our listening audience, I think you would enjoy watching that. It was very practical, again, kind of use of machine learning, AI, how to optimize, and again, just very kind of tangible way of looking at it. So Zoe, David, as always, thank you so much. Enjoyed the conversation. Any of our listeners, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do for more episodes. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, it was fun.